Hello there, little buddy. Uh, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a good day. This is what is today? This is Tuesday. Tuesday's edition of the weather update here. Sorry, I got on a little late today. It started pouring, and I had to get Mr. Murphy Pants in, who's right there. Hi, Murphy. Say hi to everybody. He's not looking at me. He's a little upset that I had to bring him inside. Um, okay. Well, let's talk about this storm right now. So, yesterday we were able to nail down where the brunt of this storm is going to be. Remember, from the very beginning, since I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday, we've been talking about how there was going to be a major East Coast storm. We just didn't know where it was going to hit. It was either going to be from the Carolinas up through the Philadelphia area to southern New England or anywhere in between. We were able to nail that down with 100% confidence yesterday that the bullseye of this storm is going to be southeast portions of Virginia, northern North Carolina, Delmarva. The only question, the track looks good now. I think, there's a little bit of back and forth with some of the models, but I think overall the track looks good. Um, could there be a little bit of a wobble in the track? And the reason why that is significant is for my friends that are in the Philadelphia area. The Philadelphia television market is on the extreme northern fringe of this storm. So a wobble, up or down is going to make a huge difference in who sees what. I mean, if it, and I'm going to show you all this here in a second, but if the storm were to wobble a little bit farther to the south, the city of Philadelphia might not see a single flake. Or maybe you get something with the upper level low, but not the main surface storm. Whereas at the same time, if it wobbles 25 to 50 miles to the north, which is not a big shift, what is that from roughly Philadelphia to Atlantic City? It's not a huge shift, but if it were to shift a little bit farther to the north, now you could be talking about several inches of snow in Philadelphia. So that's the only, that's the only little thing that we're seeing, right? The track looks good. Does it wobble one way or the other? Really, that's the only thing that we're trying to figure out here. Okay, let's go over to the forecast models. This one we'll make this short, um, because all the hard work is done now. You know what I mean? Like we looked at it dynamically. We've kind of put all the pieces to the puzzle together now. Now it's just a simple question of the track. So let's go right over to the end. And this is funny, this model right here, because this is the one, as many of you know who have been following me consistently for 15 years now, 20 years, whatever it's been. This is the model by far, the European, widely regarded as the most accurate model out there. And hands down, I have seen this thing at work. Hands down, it is the best global model out there. And a lot of times it's the best when it comes to high res type stuff too. This was the model, if you guys remember, when Sandy hit Brigantine. This was the only model. You took all the hurricane models, everything. This was the only one from day one that had the storm had Sandy making the left-hand turn and coming on shore. And I'm talking like a week out, it was showing that. Whereas every other model, every single one took it out to sea. And then as each and every day passed by, some of those models taking the storm out to sea started having it make the left-hand turn. And then next thing you know, 3 or 4 days later, every model had it making the left-hand turn. So that was the European who did this. And that model is what, I mean, it scores higher than all the other forecast models consistently every single week, every single month. Let's set it in motion for you. Okay, so like we always do here, this is blue and purple, whatever that color is. That's snow. Green is rain. The wintry mix, the freezing rain is pink, and the sleet is going to be orange. So here it comes. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, and you can see the bullseye again appears to be right there in the Chesapeake Bay area south of D.C. So southeast Virginia, southern Delmarva, Sussex County, Delaware. You could be in the bullseye on this, and then northern portions of North Carolina. See the darker colors here? Darker colors represent the heavier snow that's going to fall. This is 7 o'clock in the evening now on Wednesday. Now it's starting to work its way off the coast here. It brings the northern extent. This model brings the northern extent as far north as maybe Strathmere or Ocean City, New Jersey. And then the precipitation gets steadier and heavier the farther south you go. So, for example, if you're on the Cape May Lewis Ferry and you head south, and all of a sudden you get into Dewey, and or what is it? Not Dewey, it's Rehoboth, and then you get into Dewey, and you're driving south, and then eventually you get into Ocean City, Maryland. If you were to make that kind of a trip tomorrow, you would go from snow showers to steady light snow to moderate to heavy snow the farther south you go. Um, I believe that's Route 1, right? I think it's Route 1. And then it's working its way. Notice how in this model, remember, this model originally had the I-95 corridor getting blasted. I mean, crushed. Remember, it had like the 10 to 20-inch snowfall amounts for the I-95 corridor. It was the GFS, the model that I don't really like, was the one that had the southern shift first. And then a couple days afterwards, then the European, this one here that you see in front of you, then that one made the shift to the south. What's interesting here is the upper level feature is still being held back. The storm does get going, okay, but it's too far off the coast, and we talked about that yesterday. Notice if you look towards the left, you see all that purpley bluish color. That's the upper level low. It really never phases with this storm, again, because the energy on the west coast sort of is kicking this surface storm off the coast and out to sea as opposed to letting it come up. So, we kind of nailed all that down last couple days. But the upper level low gets kind of phased in with the surface low, but it's off the coast, way off the coast. So really this shows pretty much a miss. Here's a look at the snowfall totals according to the European model. This model it does have the 1-inch line through Cape May. And it's got like 1 to 3 from, let's say, Dewey Beach down to that Delaware, Maryland state line. And then notice it gets much heavier the farther south you go. The bullseye area, again, I believe that's like Norfolk, Virginia, Virginia Beach, that area, Southern Delmarva, just places that don't really see heavy accumulating snow are going to get it. There's a forecaster down there. Daggone it, the name escapes me. But he was talking about uh, the potential for this storm to be a record setter down there in that particular. It wasn't Richmond. I think it was in the Norfolk area. It has the potential to be the heaviest snowfall that they've ever seen. So I mean that's kind of giving you an idea of how much power this storm could have potentially had all the pieces come together. Like the modeling was showing last Thursday, last Friday, and even the first part of this past Saturday. So they're looking at some pretty good snow totals down there. Now, here's a look at the high res stuff. This is what still complicates things. If sometimes, it's funny because you have all these forecast models and it's great because you can take different angles, different views of these storms. There's different physics involved. You get different inputs. So from that standpoint, it's great. But also from that standpoint, it really complicates things sometimes. So here's a look at the high resolution. This is the SREF. This is the real high res stuff. And you can see what it's trying to do here. It's trying to bring a little bit of snow as far west as, what is that? That's the Delaware River. It's trying to bring at least 2 inches from Trenton to Philadelphia to Wilmington southward through Baltimore and D.C. It's got the 6-inch line around Cape May. What is that? It's got 10 to 15 in Norfolk, Virginia, Southern Delmarva, Southeast Virginia that still has the bullseye there. But notice again, it's trying to bring a little bit more snow farther to the north, the wobble that I was just talking about. And again, it's only, so I mean, think about it. We go from that. Let me go back here. There's the European right there. There is no wobble on the European. The SREF, high res stuff. It's a pretty good wobble on there. I personally, I don't think I buy this. I put a forecast on my Facebook page. Let me see if I can dig it up for you guys here. I might be able to. Actually, you know what? While you're looking at this map, I might be able to bring it up here. Let me go onto the website here real quick. I might be able to bring it up right now. Let's see. And I've pretty much made my call. I'm not going to model jump and change every time a new model run comes in. I've gone with what I've gone with. It plays out, it plays out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Bottom line is it doesn't look like a major snowstorm the Philadelphia area. Here's what I went with. I drew this morning, the 1-inch line. I put it from Strathmere through what are we, just north? We're well north of the Villas. I forget the name of that town. Um, on it, the name escapes me, but it's right where, you know how you're driving down the Jersey Shore, and um, you're going down 55, and all of a sudden it becomes one lane, and you pass that Wawa. You know what I'm talking about? And then you get a little bit farther down, you can break left and go towards Sea Isle City. Right around there, that Wawa. That's where I'm taking this line. So I'm running it from like Strathmere or Ocean City through that Wawa, southwestward, just south of Dover or right at Dover, and then across the eastern shores of Maryland. I'm going to put the 3-inch line right on Cape May. So maybe from the Wildwoods through Cape May and then drop it southwest. Um, most of Sussex County, I have 3 to 6. And then I have the 6-inch line right there, farther to the south, probably just south of Ocean City, Maryland. And then that also extends southwest. That's what I'm going to go with. I may have to, a perfect forecast probably has to adjust these lines a little bit here or there. But like I said, I'm not going to keep going back and forth here. I think you guys get the gist of it. Here's a look at the NAM, another high-res model. Now, this one's very interesting because this one hardly has a single flake in Philadelphia, if anything at all. And notice the tight gradient here. We literally go from, let me see what town that is. Let's say Franklinville, picking up an inch, to Buna picking up 4 or 5. That's not a far drive at all. I think this is a little overdone too. So I'm looking at all the models, and it's funny because I'm trying to find a compromise here, and I don't see it. Here's the GFS. Watch this one come across. Hold on. Let me see. All right, let's make sure. View. Let's see. Did that work? Yeah, you guys see that? Okay. So watch this come across here. You can see it come across. And again, they all show the same thing now. They have the storm developing in the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico. I don't even know what we call it anymore, so I'm just going to call it the Gulf. It goes right across northern Florida, off the coast of the Carolinas. Notice the northern extent kind of gets hung up. Upper level low holds back across West Virginia here as we get into Thursday morning. Again, the two are not phasing, and by the time they do, notice the explosion right here. See how far off the coast it is? But this model shows a little bit more snow. I'm trying to find a compromise here, but I think we've got a good idea. I think this is I think this right here. I'm just this is what I'm going with, and I'm sticking to it. Maybe you take the 1-inch line and you lift it a little bit farther to the north, just to be safe. And same thing with the 3. But right now, I think this is a good idea. Okay. Also, we were talking about this too. So the heaviest of this storm is going to miss to the south. Okay, or at least that's the way it looks right now. Brutal cold. If you guys remember January, most of the country was attacked by that polar vortex at one point before I think it was the last like 5, 6, 7 days of the month, or maybe it was just 5 days. I forget what it was. We had a little bit of a January thaw. Prior to that thaw happening, it was the coldest. It was either coldest January or coldest winter, December and January since 1988. I have to go back and look at the numbers, but it had been the coldest either January or coldest winter up to that point since 1988. Then you had that 5-day thaw. Temperatures really did warm. Well, now you're getting round number 2. Here comes the polar vortex again, and it's brutal. I just did on the air yesterday here in South Florida. I do these little national hits. Talk about what's going on. I mean, they had the devastating flooding in Kentucky. I'll probably be talking about that again today. And then the other piece of the story was the dangerous cold. They're talking about 40 to 60 below zero wind chills in places like Glasgow, Montana, the Dakotas. It was crazy. Even Oklahoma City was talking about a high of 8. And I don't know if that was today or tomorrow, but the high in Oklahoma City, think about how far south that is. 8 degrees. The low was 0. It's just wild how cold some of this is. So let's take a look here. set this in motion for you. These are wind chills. Okay. Let me put back. Okay. Can you guys see that? Hopefully you can. Okay. So watch this here. Keep an eye on the white. The white is below zero. This is today. Wind chills get nasty tonight. Tomorrow. All right. There's not much wind tomorrow. There's a little bit going, but not a lot. And then Thursday, look at this. Some cold stuff. Really cold stuff. And then Friday, we're also looking at wind chills in the single digits. In the morning, and then in the afternoon it rebounds into the 20s. It's just a really cold stretch. Saturday looks like Saturday morning probably starting out in the single digits by afternoon. Well, afternoon looks better. At least there you're in the 30s again. So really cold stuff. So all right, let me oh gosh, you know what? I forgot it. I forgot doing it to do it again. Got to start paying more attention to this chat so I can start answering questions here. Let's see. So that's the short of it. Actually, we're 15 minutes in. I guess it wasn't the short of it, but I want to thank. I've got a lot of new viewers on this channel, and this is for the followers that have been by my side for like the last 10, 15 years. Thank you so much for staying with me. You guys know how I forecast. For those that are new, I guess I'll just quickly tell you how I forecast. I created this channel. I teach. All right, that's one thing that I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but one thing that I can do really well is I do explain the weather. At least I think I do explain it pretty well. I mean, someone once said to me, when you're educated and you know what you're talking about, you're able to explain it, easily. And so what I do here on Facebook, if you followed me, I explain the weather. I get into the patterns. I get into, for example, scenarios. What has to happen to get a big storm? What has to happen for the storm to miss? I get into all of that. And so I developed this channel, this YouTube channel, and this is where I'm going to get into a lot of my explainers. There's a lot you can do with this. I've only just begun to kind of crack the surface, if you will, as to everything that this platform can do. And so what I do here, for example, if from the very beginning with this storm, on Friday when I first started doing these videos, it was the one thing we talked about. There's going to be a major East Coast storm somewhere from the Carolinas to southern New England. We just don't know. We just don't know where yet. All the pieces have to come together. So what did we do? We kind of looked at the models, and then we looked at the ensembles to see whether or not the ensembles supported what the deterministic models were showing. And then, of course, I just kind of give you my input. I think, yeah, this one has the right idea. No, I don't like what it's showing. And that's kind of how I do it. So what I'm going to be doing here with this platform is, I don't work in the Philadelphia market anymore, so I kind of have a broader audience now. And I just kind of show these storms traveling across the country, and I'll try to figure out who's getting hit, who's not getting hit. Oh, one thing, you know what? And that, don't ask me why this just led me to remember about this. Boy, that's not proper English. Forget about what I just said there. But I just remembered something. Hold on, let me load this up. I had probably about 20 questions on this, and I built a graphic, and I want to explain to you guys real quick before I let you go why this is happening. Let's see. Okay, do you guys see this? Okay, so I probably had about 20 questions um, in my messages, my inbox, and people were asking me, okay, why has the storm track been so far to the south this winter when almost every other year it's so far to the north? It was a great question. So I started doing a little digging, and there's a couple of now I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of this because there's going to be technically the science. There's going to be a lot more, but it gets really technical, and I'm going to lose half of you. So with the Cliff Notes version is there's quite a few things going on, but you have something called a baroclinic zone. All right, what the baroclinic zone is, it's an area of storm development where you have the greatest temperature gradient. And so think about what happens. You get summertime. Let's start there. The oceans are really warm, okay, because it's hot, right? The temperature of the land cools much, much quicker and warms much, much quicker than the water does. It takes time for the ocean to warm or cool. So think about what happened in December. Winter got started right away in the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. You kept getting these cold shots. The water kept cooling down. Then you got hammered with the polar vortex. The water kept cooling down. I built this graphic yesterday. These were the ocean temperatures. 39 off the coast of Atlantic City, 46 off the coast of Ocean City, Maryland. The blue represents 40s. Look how far off the coast it is. The Baroclinic zone, because of how cold the ocean is right now, which is a result of how cold it's been so far this winter, that has forced the Baroclinic zone, which is also the storm track, so far off the coast that now these storms, a lot of them are either what we call A, southern sliders, or B, storms that kind of travel across from west to east, but south of the Mason-Dixon line. Now, over the last couple of winters, actually probably about 4 or 5 straight winters, that Baroclinic zone was much closer to the coast. And so not only were we not missing out on storms, the Baroclinic zone or the storm track was so far to the north that you had to keep worrying about a rain snow line. We don't have to this time around. I mean, every now and then when you got cutters, sure. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. A cutter, for example, is a storm that hit last week and brought all that ice to the area. It's a storm that, yes, it develops in the south, but instead of it traveling to the coast and coming up the coast, it travels up the Appalachians northward. And so that always puts the East Coast in the warm sector. So when you get a cutter, you're always going to get some slop, snow or sleet changing over to rain. But this right here, the Baroclinic zone is set up so far off the coast that the coastal storms and the storms to our south, they travel along that red line. A lot of them are something very similar, as opposed to closer to the coast. If the line was closer to the coast, you'd be getting hit on all of these. So, you ever hear the saying, it's too cold to snow? One, that's not true. It snows in the Arctic Circle. It snows in Antarctica. It's never technically too cold to snow. But the saying, I understand the saying because sometimes the cold, the big areas of high pressure that deliver the cold, they're so overpowering that they'll force the storm track away from certain areas. And I think that is really what's kind of meant by that saying. So right here is this is my 2 cents on it. This is what I think is going on. That's exactly where the Baroclinic zone is. What you're seeing is exactly what the water temperatures are doing. I mean, look at the Gulf Stream right now. They're in the 70s. And down here in West Palm Beach, it's funny because we got hit with a really good cold shot. What did we have? We had 4 straight days where the highs were below like 63, and we had one day where the highs were in the 50s, which is crazy for South Florida like this. I mean, we're way the heck down here. I'm near Lake Okeechobee, way down here. So to get that kind of weather, and we even had ocean temperatures in Florida drop down into the 40s in northern Florida, and part of my viewing area near Sebastian, it was in the 50s. So it just kind of gives you an idea of how impressive these cold shots have been. We've had 2 massive Arctic outbreaks, and both have been the polar vortex breaking off from the North Pole and dropping down into the United States. And that's exactly what has been going on. So this is my theory on it right here. So if someone asks you why, battery's running low, I'm going to have to cut this short. I'm getting long-winded now anyway. If someone asks you why we're missing out on a lot of these storms, you tell them the Baroclinic zone is farther to the south this winter. Boom. And then go have yourself a chocolate martini. Okay, guys, I got to get going. The battery's dead. I got to shave and get ready for work too. Anyway, I'm going to do a live from the Sours Dungeon on my Facebook platform, not this one, on my Facebook platform tonight at 7:45. We'll take another look at the storm. I'll be able to get into a little bit more of the cold that's coming your way, and then I'll do a little bit of weather for South Florida. All right, you take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye.